Hi there, thanks so much for tuning in to today's Drawing for Kids video brought to you by the Ann Arbor District Library and the Ann Arbor Art Center. Today we are doing our part 2 series in texture. So we are going to be drawing a silly sandwich drawing with all sorts of funny things that may or may not really belong on a sandwich. So here you can see my example. I have used colored pencils to color it in, but you can color it in with like whatever tools you have. So for my sandwich, I want to pick some items that actually belong on a sandwich, but also things that don't belong on a sandwich. And while I'm doing this, I'm thinking of what textures, right? How do these things feel that I'm putting on my sandwich? So lettuce is bumpy, tomato juicy and smooth, mustard is wet, bread is kind of spongy. I'm now getting a little bit more creative here with some feta cheese. It's crumbly. Deli turkey that's sliced would be nice and smooth. Potato chips. I know probably you may have put a potato chip or two on your sandwich. I know I did that when I was a kid. And I'm gonna do those rigid ones. Cotton candy does not belong, but that'll be fun, soft and fluffy. And mashed potatoes are kind of a lumpy texture. I'm also adding in some noodles that are kind of smooth. And so that will give me a nice variety of different textures. So now I'm going to start with the sandwich bread. So at the top, so you can see here how it's a square, but it's kind of more like a diamond because it's at an angle. And so you can see here how I've also added room for that crust down on the side to make it kind of more like a 3D form, so you're not just drawing a flat square or diamond, okay? Now, you can see I'll keep going back and forth looking at my paper. These are going to have a lot of overlapping shapes. So you might have some places where you start drawing part of a potato chip and then part of a noodle and then part of a tomato like you can see here. And then that way by the end of it, it will really all come together. There's a lot of overlapping, so make sure you draw lightly so that you have the ability to erase some of those lines that you might not want to actually have in there by the time you start coloring your drawing. So you can see I'm putting those little ingredients or whatever of the ones I've already drawn up there so I can keep track. So now I've got my cotton candy, I've got my mustard, now I'm doing some feta cheese on some lettuce, and then I'll finish it off with my bread. So now that I've got all of the different pieces of the ingredients for my sandwich, now I can start coloring and I can shade it in such a way to help enhance the look of the texture. So for example, that mustard is drippy and kind of wet, so that's why it has some highlights and is shiny, right? Versus showing kind of some of those textures of the lumpy mashed potatoes. So I hope you enjoyed today's drawing. Don't forget to do a fun background as well if you have room around your sandwich.